Grab your flip-flops and fire up the barbecue because it's time for the biggest party of the summer, WWF SummerSlam 2000. Just over 18,000 are packed inside the Raleigh Entertainment and Sports Arena in, you guessed it, Raleigh, North Carolina, while around 570,000 are watching this one on pay-per-view. Our main event sees The Rock putting his WWF title on the line in a triple threat match against Kurt Angle and Triple H, two men who've had their fair share of problems with each other lately. And along with that, we've got Steve Blackman taking on Shane McMahon for the hardcore title, a 2 out of 3 falls match between the two Canadian Chris's. The Brothers of Destruction are going to square off, and we've got the first ever tables, ladders and chairs match. This show has some of the most enduring moments from the whole Attitude Era, so let's get started with our opening bout, the RTC taking on Too Cool in a 6-man tag. Before the teams make their entrances, Jerry Lawler says that he's happy JR's here after what Tazz did to him earlier in the week, but we'll get to that a bit later on. The right to censor receive a thoroughly hostile reception from all these morally bankrupt degenerates here in Raleigh. Stephen Richard shares the same opinion as myself, as he thought these folks in the Bible Belt would agree with the RTC and their crusade. Just as he's about to deliver a lesson in morality, Too Cool's music hits and the fans go nuts. They cheer even more when they see that the Big Oos is bringing some ladies with him, including the future Victoria, who's been subject to some abuse in recent weeks from her former employer, the Good Father. The lads and ladies have a pre-match boogie, but it's interrupted by the RTC, and all 6 men have a quick brawl before it settles down to Scotty and Bull. Scotty uses his quickness to take the early advantage, connecting with a crossbody for a near fall. Some double team work from Too Cool keeps Bull on the back foot, but he is able to tag in the Good Father. He fares no better though, as he gets sent over the top rope to the floor. It looks like the ladies are going to get some retribution on the goodest of all fathers, but no, he shoves them to the floor like the bastard he is. This gets a loud save the host chant as Good Father takes control on Grandmaster back inside the ring. Some double team work from the RTC this time before Stephen gets tagged in and his powerbomb gets him a 2 count. He heads up top, but he gets both his right and left censored before taking a superplex from Mr. Sexy. Big Keish gets the tag and he wrecks all of his opponents single-handedly. Stephen tries to run away, but he gets brought back in by Victoria. And all 3 RTC members take hip attacks in the corner. Stephen falls in position for a stink face, but a scissors kick from Bull stops the Big Goose. Scotty takes Bull down with a bulldog, appropriately enough. And the fans in Raleigh are about to see Scotty's worm, but Old White Sox scores with a Stevie kick out of nowhere for the flash pinfall. The RTC steal one at SummerSlam. A really fun opener here with a lot of crowd interaction, and the right to censor keep their heat going forward. No complaints at all. Earlier tonight on Heat, the coach caught up with Kurt Angle and he asked him why he took advantage of Stephanie on Thursday night. You see, Kurt gave Stephanie a big old kiss and it looked like Stephanie liked it. Kurt says the coach has no right to question his integrity and he doesn't owe a third string announcer like Coach an explanation. So, fair enough. Steph then arrived a little later and she asks Coach if Hunter's arrived at the building yet. He tells her that her husband isn't here, but Kurt is. She looks a little conflicted before walking away. Later on, Kurt went into Steph's locker room knowing that Hunter wasn't there, the dirty, dirty dog. Hide your wives, gentlemen, because this man will 100% slip in when you least expect it. Speaking of the McMahons, Shane's backstage with Michael Cole. Cole wants to know Shane's thoughts about his sister Stephanie, but before he can give an answer, the world's most terrifying man, Steve Blackman, appears and Shane legs it. A wise choice, my guy. There's a great, classic term for what Shane McMahon is tonight, and that term is proper fucked. Up next, it's DX member versus DX member as Road Dogg takes on X-Pac. What started out as a friendly rivalry has become rather heated over the past few weeks, so they're going to try and settle things once and for all here tonight. X-Pac shows up Road Dogg in the early going by taking him down and slapping him around the head, but Roddy returns the favour by booting Pac up the hole and causing him to fall out of the ring. Back inside, Road Dogg counters a spin kick and he takes Pac down with a clothesline, but he does end up eating some shoe leather in the corner. Although Road Dogg avoids the follow-up attempt at a Bronco Buster, he can't avoid Pac's sleeper and we go all the way down to the mat. Roddy fights out, but he's met with a spinning heel kick from Pac, which gets a 2 count. Roddy gets put in place for a Bronco Buster and bam, there it is. How would you feel about your best mate doing that, do you, eh? To be fair, this does fire Roddy up and we see a dancey punch and a dancey knee. It's truly staggering how many people in the comments still point out that I call these moves wrong every time. Road Dogg goes for the pump handle drop, but he gets met with a low blow and an X-Factor, which seals the victory for X-Pac. What a sneaky little bugger. After the bout, Pac grabs a mic and he says, now that we know who the better man is, D-Generation X can put this all behind them. But Road Dogg seems to think otherwise, and Pac does end up taking that pump handle drop. Where does this leave DX going forward? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Mamacita and Eddie Guerrero are discussing their upcoming tag team match, a match where the Intercontinental title will be on the line. Eddie says he's not the jealous type and he'll be happy if Chyna wins the gold. Mamacita tells Eddie that one way or another, one of them will be getting lucky tonight, to which Eddie makes this face. Yeah mate, I agree. Trish says that she's proper centerfold material, to which Val tells her to get her head in the game and do her part in this upcoming match. Old Val really is no fun anymore, is he? That match is coming up next as Val Venis and Trish defend the Intercontinental title in a tag team match against Eddie and Chyna. The crowd still love the pair of Eddie and Chyna, but they also love the pair of Trish. Oh yeah, and Val's there too. Chyna's desperate to get her hands on Trish after Trish smashed the glass jar over the head of the 9th wonder of the world 2 weeks ago on SmackDown. But we've got Eddie and Val starting us off with some nice back and forth before Eddie connects with a leaping back elbow and a Northern Light suplex. Val fights back with a back elbow of his own and a knee drop. Chyna gets a blind tag and she introduces herself via a big clothesline. A simple hello would have done, but sure. A double team flapjack gets Chyna a near fall and she stays in control with a hard Irish whip, a few kicks to the midsection and another clothesline. Trish gets in to cause a distraction which allows Val to regain control with a back suplex. A big Chyna chant goes up as she herself goes up for a vertical suplex followed by a body slam. Val gets cocky, not like the way he used to, and he misses a second rope elbow drop. He then spits on Eddie, which distracts the referee, and that allows Chyna to hit Val right in the Venis with a low blow before scoring with a DDT. Eddie gets the tag and Latino Heat runs wild, culminating in a gorgeous springboard Hurricane Rana. Eddie does get dropped on the top turnbuckle though, and Val connects with a blue thunder bomb, but Venis can't make the cover. The two men then clash heads and Trish sticks her hand out for a tag, knowing that Eddie's not in the best shape right now. She tags in and lays in a few kicks, but she goes to the well one too many times and Eddie manages to tag in Chyna. She proceeds to wreck Trish, but her momentum gets cut off by Val. However, the heels attempt to double team the 9th wonder of the world backfires. Val gets pulled outside, Trish takes a gorilla press slam from Chyna, and that's enough to seal the win and crown a new Intercontinental Champion tonight at SummerSlam. Chyna is now a 2-time IC title holder and Latino Heat seems happy for his mamacita. Val, on the other hand, is furious with Trish, though don't be too angry Mr. Venis, it's okay. To be honest, Val's title reign was a bit of a dud. It didn't elevate him as a single star, he didn't elevate the championship. It's for the best that a new champion got crowned here at SummerSlam. Makeup lady Janet stirring the pot backstage as she tells Steph that everyone's talking about her and Kurt's kiss. Steph does admit that Kurt's technical prowess does cross over to the world of swap and slobber, and oh boy, Triple H isn't going to be too happy about this at all. It's time for Tazz to go one-on-one with Jerry Lawler as the King stands up for his broadcast colleague, good old JR. This whole thing started when Tazz called out JR for talking bad about him on commentary. Tazz would mock Ross, which led to Jim slapping him, and when he threatened JR again, King stepped in and Tazz got dropped. The two men would continue to cross paths until finally Tazz kidnapped JR and he put him in Lawler's rental car. Tazz would smash the window, causing glass to go into JR's eye. And man, what a fall for Tazz. Going from his debut in January, where he ran through Kurt Angle while gaining a ton of crowd support, to just 6 months later feuding with a commentator. And yes, I know King's a legitimate wrestler, but still, it's not how anyone imagined Tazz's run would play out after that initial introduction at the Rumble. Tazz continues to mock JR as he makes his entrance with a wide cane, dark glasses, and a rather fetching hat. He makes his way to the announce table where King's had enough and he smacks Tazz right in the mouth. King batters Tazz in the early going and he even pulls out a dropkick before choking his opponent on the ropes. Lawler connects with his signature fish drop from the second rope, but he misses his second attempt and Tazz lays in a few boots and a few clubs. He screams at JR before continuing to beat on the King, going to the eyes before sending Lawler to the outside, all right in front of good old JR. Tazz talks some more trash, but this allows King to regain control while Tazz was distracted. Back in the ring, Tazz begs off, but it's just so he can headbutt the King right in the crown jewels before heading up top. He goes for a senton flip, but Lawler's able to roll out of the way, and King pulls down the strap, meaning it's the beginning of the end for Tazz. King scores with his patented piledriver, which should be enough for the win, but Tazz pops right back up before screaming "fuck you" right in Jerry's face. Teddy Long goes down after a collision with Lawler, so Tazz takes this time to talk even more trash to JR. Only this time, he's also able to avoid Jerry's attack, and we see the Tazz mission. He punks out JR as he takes King to the mat, so JR decides enough's enough and he smashes his glass candy jar over Tazz's head. King makes the cover and Teddy Long makes the 3 count, so Lawler wins at SummerSlam. Tazz can be heard saying that he has glass in his eye while Lawler celebrates with JR at the commentary table. And as nice as it is to see JR and King being genuine pals throughout this whole thing, it really doesn't do a whole heap for Tazz, who, keep in mind, is the active roster member in this feud. Shane's a man in demand as Lillian tries to get a word with the hardcore champion. Once again though, Shane gets spooked by Sensei Blackman as any right-minded human would be. He can run all he wants, but he can't escape the fact that he's defending his hardcore title next against the WWF's Ultimate Chad. Shane runs all the way to the arena holding his hardcore belt, a belt that he won from Blackman last Monday on Raw thanks to help from Test, Albert, Edge and Christian. Shane looks rightfully terrified as Blackman makes his way to the ring carrying both a kendo stick and a trash can. The commentators tell us that Commissioner Foley had suspended the 24/7 rule, so there was no way Shane could lose the title before SummerSlam. Good guy Foley strikes again. Blackman tries to give Shane the stick to entice the champion into the ring, but McMahon Jr.'s having none of it. That is until Steve turns his back, but this backfires as Sensei was ready for it, because of course he was. Shane decides to run away through the crowd, smart move, but Steve cuts him off at the pass with a trash can and Shane gets bopped. We get a brief scrap amongst the people of Raleigh before we head back to the ringside area, and we see the rare barricade-assisted motherfucker kick, which would be more than enough to end any man. Blackman grabs a few trash can lids and Shane takes a shot right to the knees and then a spinning shot across the back of the head. Blackman grabs more toys from under the ring and Shane gets fitted with a nice new hat which comes with some stick accessories. I believe it's part of the Lethal Weapon summer collection. Blackman says we aren't done yet as the Boy Wonder takes a stick assisted back suplex before Blackman wraps a leather strap around Shane's neck. Shane gets whipped from one side of the ring to the other, and it's surely just a matter of time before we crown a new hardcore champion here. Shane gets locked in a crab while Blackman pulls on the strap to choke him at the same time. Looks vicious, but Steve teaches this move in the 11 to 15 year old bracket back at the dojo. And this right here is the cue for Test and Albert to come to Shane's aid as the two big bastards set about wrecking Blackman. Albert connects with a Baldo bomb while Test grabs some more weapons. They send Steve into a trash can propped up in the corner before Test drops an elbow. The tide has drastically turned in this one and I don't like it. Test and Albert hold up the challenger as Shane O'Mac lays in a few shots before flying through the air and cracking a sign off Steve's head. Blackman gets the leather strap put around his neck and he gets dragged up to the side of the entrance stage, and yeah, we all know where this is going. Shane and Tess try to push a speaker on top of Blackman, but Sensei's cat-like reactions allow him to avoid it. They then try to hold him against the set so Albert can hit him with a kendo stick, but he once again gets out of the way, and it's Tess who takes the hit. Blackman takes control of the stick and TNA get taken out. Shane decides the best course of action is to leg it, so he starts climbing up the side of the Tron, which leads to the spot that this whole pay-per-view is most known for. Blackman follows Shane right to the top of the structure, and after a few shots with the kendo stick, Shane falls from the top all the way to the floor onto some tech equipment. It's a spectacular bump, and fair play to Shane for doing it. Young McMahon has no fear. He went backwards from that height without being able to see where he was landing, so yeah, it looks like the McMahons do indeed have some rather large grapefruits. The crowd goes nuts for this spot, and not to be outdone, Blackman leaps off the structure to drop an elbow on the stricken Shane to secure the pin and the win. This was actually a recreation from the great Steve Blackman vs Giant Robot Monster battle of 1984 at Mount Fuji, but you already knew that. We have a new hardcore champion, and once again, it's the Lethal Weapon. Truth be told, the match itself wasn't much to write home about, but you can't argue with that finish. Maybe the peak of Steve Blackman's WWF run, and certainly his most remembered spot. Stephanie's concerned about her brother's well-being and she needs some consoling, don't we all? Good thing Kurt's here, the dirty stinking hyena. Steph asks him if he's heard anything about Shane's condition, and Kurt responds with, "I think he just got the wind knocked out of him." The two share a hug, but they're interrupted by Commissioner Mick Foley, who tells Steph that he thinks the two of them should go and check on Shane. You have to wonder how Shane's absence is going to affect our next match, as his buddy Chris Benoit takes on Y2J Chris Jericho in a 2 out of 3 falls match. These two are picking up their rivalry from earlier in the year, and I for one am more than okay with that. These two have had some stellar bouts in the year 2000, and this match tonight should be another. Both men waste little time as they exchange right hands before the bell even rings. They scrap all the way down to the mat and then into the corner, and as the referee tries to break them up, all three men end up going through the ropes and out to the floor. Jericho continues to hammer away, but finally Mike Chioda breaks them up. Jericho charges at Benoit, but he gets elevated into the ring post and Y2J grabs his shoulder. Chris Benoit now has a target. Back in the ring, Benoit looks for an STF, but Jericho fights out and he looks for the walls of Jericho. He instead decides to catapult Benoit into the turnbuckles though before hitting a big release German suplex. A tombstone reversal leads to Benoit connecting with a shoulder breaker before focusing on the injury he caused earlier on. Jericho scores with a bulldog, he goes for an early lion salt, but Benoit gets his knees up and he locks in the crossface. Jericho tries to hold on, but he ends up tapping out, so the crippler takes the lead in this 2 out of 3 falls match. Benoit immediately looks to apply the hold again, which makes perfect sense. Wish others took this simple strategy in 2 out of 3 falls matches. And after a brief struggle, Benoit gets the move locked in. It stays applied for a long time, and JR implores Y2J to give up to save his career, but Jericho is eventually able to make it to the bottom rope to break the hold. Benoit continues to work on the shoulder as Jericho again gets thrown into the ring post both on the outside and back inside the ring. The fans continue to get behind Jericho, and this seems to motivate him as he scores with a desperation forearm. Benoit looks for another German suplex, but Jericho rolls through and he manages to lock in the walls of Jericho. Benoit wants to grab the bottom rope, but Jericho drags him back to the centre of the ring, and the crippler has no choice but to tap out. We are now tied up at 1 fall apiece. Jericho maintains the advantage with a backbreaker, a few chops and a reverse elbow off the top. The two then exchange pinfall attempts, but Benoit regains control with a dragon suplex, which only gets him a 2 count. He then signals for the diving headbutt, but he gets intercepted and Jericho takes him down to the mat with a top rope Hurricane Rana. Jericho wants to build some momentum with a flying forearm and a few clotheslines, but that left shoulder's giving him some issues as he connects with a spinning heel kick. Jericho delivers his lion salt, but he goes back to favouring that shoulder, so he's not able to make a cover. Our match ends with Jericho delivering some knees at the ropes before rolling Benoit up in a cradle, but the rabid Wolverine's able to roll through into a pinning predicament of his own, and with the use of the ropes, he's able to keep Jericho down for a 3 count and claim the victory. Another tremendous match between these two, and it's becoming the case that if the WWF needs a hot feud, they can wheel these two out and they'll constantly deliver. Doesn't matter who wins or loses, Benoit vs Jericho is now pretty much guaranteed to always be good. The games arrived at SummerSlam, perfect time for the WWF to show another replay of Kurt Angle kissing his wife. We'll be coming back to Triple H soon, but now it's time for the first ever TLC match in WWF or WWE history, and the premise is real simple. The Dudleys like tables, the Hardys like ladders, and tag team champions Edge and Christian like chairs. Put them all together and you've got a brand new match type that was booked by Commissioner Mick Foley on Raw. The tag belts are up for grabs here, and it's chaos right from the get-go. Matt Hardy launches a chair into Bubba Ray's head, though Bubba launches it right back into brother Jeff. The champs then use a chair to great effect when going after Devon. No one's safe here as Edge brings a ladder into the ring only to take a bump on it, and when Bubba tries to go up and retrieve the belts, he comes crashing down thanks to Matt and Jeff. Devon and Jeff want to grab those belts, but Edge performs a double leg sweep on both these guys. Even in the early moments of the match, the competitors look like they've been through a war, though we're far from done. We see a Bubba bomb on Christian from the top of the ladder, which seemed to please our cameraman right here. And our next high spot is a bit more elaborate as Matt and Jeff go through the seesaw routine with Matt taking the brunt of it. This spot always gives me anxiety, and as mentioned before, we have seen this go terribly wrong. Edge and Christian miss a concerto and they instead get a ladder rammed into them. The Dudleys now have an opportunity to grab those belts, but instead they want to perform the was up headbutt and the crowd absolutely love it. They also go nuts when Bubba tells Devon to get the tables, so we now have tables, ladders and chairs in the ring, and the audience pops huge for a 3D on Christian. The Dudleys then head out to set up some tables at the ringside area. It was always exciting when tables got set up in this manner because you knew you were in for a big high spot. Unfortunately, the Dudleys get stopped by Edge swinging his chair like a madman, but Matt Hardy stops Edge with a twist of fate and the Hardys take turns jumping off the ladder with some high-risk Daredevil offense. It can't be overstated how loud the audience is right here, by the way. Edge gets sandwiched in the ladder and Christian gets launched into his brother. And if you think this looked painful, check out Jeff climbing a huge ladder on the outside for a swanton bomb. Bubba Ray's like, "Not today, pal," and Jeff goes through 2 tables. What's so good about these TLC matches is that it's just high spot after high spot and fans really don't get a chance to catch their breath. This gets showcased right here as Christian performs a reverse DDT while Edge and Devon get bounced off the top rope. Bubba Ray then gets a crazed look in his eyes as he decides it's now time to end this one and grab those belts, but the ladder gets pushed and Bubba crashes through those stacked tables he helped set up earlier on. This is so good. The tag champs are going to win it. They begin their slow climb up the ladder, though here comes Lita to push the boys from the ladder, and that's some dirty work right here. Babyfaces don't need outside interference, guys. Matt tries to claim the belts. He too ends up falling out of the ring and he gets put through 2 tables. And as for Lita, well, she takes a spear and she smacks her head off a ladder. You can see Edge immediately checking if Lita's okay, and the sound her head made when it cracked the ladder was pretty sickening. Jeff and Devon head up to grab the belts, and Devon would reveal in later years that he was legitimately afraid of heights, so you can imagine how terrified Devon was when he and Jeff dangled from the belt loops hanging from the ceiling. Devon falls and his body contorts on impact. Edge and Christian use the ladder to get Jeff down. The tag team champions retain their titles after grabbing the belts, and yeah, I need a breather after that one. Absolute insanity from bell to bell, and you gotta wonder how these competitors plan on topping this next time around. Incredible work from the WWF Tag Team division. A great match right here. Triple H wants an explanation. He wants to know how the kiss happened and why Steph allowed it. Stephanie says Kurt took advantage of her. She had no idea what was going on, even though the footage says different. But Hunter doesn't want to hear it. He tells Steph to stay away from Kurt. Little Miss McMahon has to keep her distance from now on. And Steph butters Hunter up by saying the game's the only man for her. I don't believe you. Next we have a women's stinkface match, and I honestly don't think I can show much of this due to YouTube's content policies, but we've got Al Snow bringing the cat down to the ring while Saturn brings Terri down. Looks like Perry doesn't want fans to see Terry's fun bags. In short, we've got the cat pulling off a Bronco Buster, Saturn shoving the cat to ensure she didn't stick her ass in Terry's face. The referee gets headbutted right in the nutsack, although to be fair, he was getting a little close, and the cat ended up winning after shoving her rear end in Terry's mug. Again, I'm not even sure if I can show this, but if you really want to see it, then go look up the pay-per-view. You do have to stop and think about the premise of this match though. It's like we're hoping a woman shoving her butthole in another woman's face will make people buy our pay-per-views, and yeah, it probably worked. Horn dogs need entertainment too. Undertaker vs Kane is our next scheduled match, though it's more like a brief scuffle between the brothers. The reason why Kane's turned back to the dark side was explained on SmackDown, and basically it's because he's a monster. That's what he said. There's no elaborate reasoning behind this heel turn, there's no spooky lore that got revealed, and there's no extra hidden chapter in the story that is Undertaker vs Kane. Kane just woke up and said, "Shit, I'm supposed to be evil, better fix that ASAP." JR says this isn't going to be a catch-as-catch-can classic as Taker beats the shit out of his brother on the entranceway. Back in the ring, Undertaker tries to rip Kane's mask off, and this, ladies and gents, is going to be what soon ends our match. Kane fights back in the corner, he then goes out to grab a steel chair, and the commentators mention how the referee doesn't really have a job here. He's just going to stand back and let these two fight. The Undertaker takes control of the chair and Kane takes a shot across the back, and then Undertaker tries again to remove his brother's mask. This time he does manage to rip a piece off, which does get the crowd excited. We go outside where Kane gets well acquainted with the ring steps, once when he smacks them off a ring post, and again when Undertaker launches those bad boys right in Kane's face. Good stuff here, and when we get back in the ring, we see that Kane's bleeding. So ripping off part of the mask provides fans with this cool visual right here. Our match ends with Kane throwing right hands and the Undertaker comes back with a spear, not a move we typically see from the American Badass. The two get up, Undertaker then delivers a low blow, and the Phenom successfully removes the mask, and this forces Kane to cancel the match while running back up the entranceway. You can actually see Kane's face here at one particular frame as he makes his way back up the ramp. Call me crazy, but Kane looks like a hippie version of the mayor of Knox County, but probably just my imagination. Taker parades around the ring while holding Kane's mask. Not a great match, but it was notable for that one little moment where we could see Kane's face. Our WWF title match features The Rock defending his belt against Kurt Angle and Triple H. The Rock's played a secondary role in this storyline though, seeing as it's all centered around the love triangle between Kurt Angle, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Kurt and Steph have gotten a wee bit close over the past few months, with both saying they're just close friends and nothing more. Kurt, however, has been using this relationship to provoke Triple H, and things went into overdrive with that kiss on SmackDown. Hunter and Steph's relationship has suffered due to Kurt Angle, though it's not like Stephanie's been innocent either. It all kinda makes Triple H look like a babyface heading into this one, but Hunter's done so much diabolical shit in the past that fans aren't going to have much sympathy for him. As a matter of fact, it's Kurt Angle who's made this all so enjoyable to watch. He acts so aloof while he knows fully well what he's up to. Take for example what happens before the match. He phones Stephanie when he knows she's in the locker room with Hunter, and Steph has to pretend it's her mother on the phone. When Hunter wants to speak with Big Linda, the line goes dead. So Kurt is 100% using Stephanie to get at Hunter. It's good stuff. Kurt makes his entrance. He says he gives it his all in the ring. He gave his all in the 1996 Olympics. And he gave Stephanie the kind of passion Triple H could never give his wife, even if his life depended on it. So Kurt continues to poke the bear right before our main event. Triple H comes out, he tries to behead Kurt Angle before The Rock even makes it to the ring. Hunter's pretty angry here tonight, and when the referee tries to break things up, Hunter shoves him down. Angle comes back at Hunter as the crowd chants Rocky's name. We've seen the WWF do this before with Rock entrances, where they hit his music while there's already action both inside and outside the ring, but they're definitely taking their time here as Kurt Angle continues to get mauled outside the ring. Triple H sets up a pedigree on top of the Spanish announce table, but the table gives way. It seems like this has done some serious damage to Kurt because the lights are on but no one's home. Both Earl Hebner and Triple H show concern here as Kurt continues to look out of it, and so Triple H grabs his sledgehammer, which also serves as the cue for Rock's entrance. This was Angle's first severe concussion. He had no recollection of the next 3 hours or so, and Angle also revealed that he was scripted to get a work concussion on this night, but he ended up getting one for real. It's crazy how it worked out. Rock and Hunter brawl on the outside before getting back in the ring. The champ takes a back elbow and Hunter takes a moment to see what's going on with Angle. Kurt's getting stretchered out of the arena, but the game doesn't feel like he's gotten enough revenge. So he dumps Rock out of the ring before chasing the EMTs up the ramp. Knowing that Kurt's really hurt yet not wanting to deviate from the script too much, Triple H gets in a few weak shots before Rock runs up for the save. Hunter's attention is no longer on Angle as he gets catapulted into an entrance prop, and when these two head back to the ringside area, Stephanie comes out to check on Kurt. Not only that, she heads to the backstage area with him, and Triple H hasn't got a clue as he puts Rock down with a clothesline. Stephanie reappears. Hunter says she's not supposed to be here before refocusing on his opponent. The game performs a high knee on the WWF champ, and now Hunter wants Stephanie to help him. He orders his wife to grab the WWF title, so Stephanie smacks the timekeeper, which was totally uncalled for, before grabbing the WWF championship. Inside the ring, the plan backfires as Stephanie hits her husband with the belt, and things continue to look bad when Rock goes for Little Miss McMahon. So, Triple H comes to her rescue with a low blow, and he tells Stephanie to get out of here. She's no longer welcome at ringside. We go back to a standard one-on-one match between Rock and Hunter, and after a little action, Triple H grabs his sledgehammer. Rock takes a shot and the referee doesn't call for the bell. It is still a triple threat match after all, though you'd assume Angle's now out of the main event anyway, so Hebner could have awarded this one to Rocky. Still, Triple H goes on offense while The Rock's torso becomes his number one target. The game gets booed after doing some damage in the corner, and Rock's comeback attempt gets met with a facebreaker knee smash. Rock takes a shot at the ring post, and there's quite a lot of time wasting afterward. I assume the ref was getting updates about Kurt Angle, and it looks like these messages were getting relayed when the match resumes in the ring. Swinging neckbreaker from Rock, kitchen sink from Triple H, And after Rock delivers a superplex, we cut to the backstage area where Stephanie manages to talk Kurt Angle into getting off his stretcher and going out there to help Triple H. Angle says he'll do it only because Steph wants him to, so a zombie like Kurt Angle gets brought to ringside by Steph where he helps Triple H set up a pedigree. Rock takes the move, Triple H covers Rock, but Angle pulls Hunter out of the ring and the crowd pop for this. Hunter gets taken out, Kurt gets inside the ring where he goes after Rock. You can tell Kurt is not 100% here, but he still pulls off a belly to belly, which Rock answers with an overhead throw and a DDT. Angle then inadvertently knocks Triple H off the apron and he takes a rock bottom. Triple H saves the match by pulling Rock out of the ring. We continue on with Stephanie putting the sledgehammer inside the ropes for her husband, but problems arise when Angle grabs the weapon. Steph wants Angle to drop it. This results in Hunter accidentally punching his wife. The crowd goes nuts right here and Angle takes advantage by hitting Hunter with the sledgehammer. But Rock ensures Angle doesn't win and instead Kurt gets sent out of the ring after a hard right hand. The Rock rushes over to Triple H, he performs the People's Elbow, The Rock wins via pinfall, and all things considered, I think this one still turned out alright. They made the best out of a bad situation, and it shows how good wrestlers handle unexpected injuries. There were moments where you could tell things were getting rearranged, but all in all, it was still a good main event. Kurt Angle carries Stephanie out of the ring as the show comes to an end, so this little love triangle is seemingly going to continue on TV. A great pay-per-view from the WWF. The whole point of reliving the wars to put WWF up against WCW, and when you compare SummerSlam with New Blood Rising, you'll quickly notice that the WWF are simply in a completely different league right now. Like all pay-per-views, SummerSlam 2000 isn't perfect, but it's recommended thanks to the amount of good stuff that takes place. Y2J vs Benoit, the TLC match, Blackman vs Shane, even the main event was pretty good, though you watch that one just to see how the professionals deal with the unexpected. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is actually not the last SummerSlam show I'll be covering for Reliving the War. I still need to go back and cover 96, so don't think that's a re-upload when it does go live. It's just free bonus DLC content for Reliving the War. Thanks again folks, and please take care.